Thank you so much, Mark, for joining the We Don't Play podcast show today. How are you?
Favor, thank you for having me. I'm doing well here in sunny San Diego.
Amazing, amazing. I love San Diego. It's always an amazing time. I was just there earlier this year.
Really, where?
Yeah, in San Diego, around what's the name of this place? It's so big. It's off
Some,
Cannon. I think the exit is Cannon Road. Um, it's in Carlsbad.
Boulder? In Carlsbad. Okay, yeah. I live
Yeah.
right near Carlsbad.
Okay.
Beautiful friggin' area. I've only been down here for 2 years. I was up in the Bay Area for 10 or 11 years. So things
Oh.
are still new to me.
Oh, next time I do come, I'll definitely, now that I know you're there, I'll definitely pay a visit for sure.
You let me know.
Definitely, definitely. I'm so glad you're able to make this. And just to give guys a quick backstory of how this even happened, I've been on the verge of trying to figure out with my team how to pretty much get better at writing and also become more authoritative in our content and copy because a lot of clients are gaining, Google Search Console performance growth. But I also realized there was a missing link because I was using a platform that I've been using for a couple of years now, and that was the only one I could see. But because you get so into the whole thing, you forget about other platforms. So when you now go back to your drawing board and you're like, wait a minute, I'm sure there's some new ones 2 years after. So I bumped into GrowthBar and I was like, this is really nice. I don't know who owns this, but I want to definitely try it out because I like to compare products. And then we had the chance of communicating earlier, Mark, and now you're here on the podcast because I figured that if I can make those big changes, I'm sure some other people will, and a lot of people need this platform to grow and expand their business. So I would love to hear more about how you even got started. What took you to this point that we are today?
Yeah. Favor, you booked a demo call for Growth Bar. We had a nice chat, and yeah, like you said, here I am a few days later on the podcast. So I started my career 12 years ago. I actually began in a totally unrelated field in inventory management for Gap. And 2 years in, I said, you know what, I just can't work for anybody. This just isn't me. I was young, hardly knew what I was doing, but went off and started an e-commerce company with a business partner. So we did that for 4 years. We were kind of, if you're familiar with Everlane, we were kind of like Everlane, a direct-to-consumer, eco-friendly clothing company. Like I said, we did that for 4 years. We did pretty well. We were able to sell it for a small sum to a competitor in the Bay Area. After we did that, I was looking for my next role, and the part that I loved about this e-commerce business was marketing. I think probably a lot of listeners and a lot of people in general fall into entrepreneurship, and they have this great idea, they build a product, and then crickets. It's like, how do I get people to actually buy whatever I'm selling? So, for me, entrepreneurship was just a big exercise in marketing. So when I was looking for my next role, I found a real estate crowdfunding company in San Francisco, became the first marketer at that company. We were actually able to grow that company really significantly. By the time I left, it had 100 people. What ended up happening to that company is a story for another day. But suffice it to say, my time there was like really incredible. I learned a ton, took it to the next company, which was a business called PlushCare. I'm actually wearing a PlushCare t-shirt today. A business called PlushCare, where I was the first marketer, the head of marketing, and also, really successful business. They went on to do great things even after I left. I took another job in marketing at a company called Minted, which is a big e-commerce company in San Francisco. But along the way, probably 3 years into my marketing career, I started a blog called Growth Marketing Pro with a woman who was actually my direct report at the company Realty Shares. Growth Marketing Pro was or is a marketing blog. We were basically just writing about everything that we were learning at our startups day to day. After a little while, we got traffic. We started making some money from it. That became our entire job. It was our whole source of income. And then about 2.5 years ago, we started GrowthBar, which is how we know each other. GrowthBar is an AI writing tool for SEO. So we were trying to write a lot of content for our blog and rank for a lot of keywords. We were like, you know what, there has to be a better way to both write and optimize content for SEO, so it's not such a guessing game. So we created GrowthBar, like I said, 2.5 years ago. We're a small team of 7 people today, mostly engineers, a little bit of customer support help, and then of course, Haley and I as the marketing leads, I guess. So we have 6,000 customers. It's growing nicely. It's profitable. It's bootstrapped. So we're having fun with it. And we've got these 2 businesses running in parallel now.
Beautiful. I'm going to catch some of those keywords you mentioned just to bring it back a little bit. A team of 7 serving 6,000 people. When someone sees that kind of scalability and they ask themselves, okay, yeah, I can make money online. Yeah, I can do this, and yeah, I can do that. Yes, we can all do these things, but how does someone put themselves in that position and say, okay, if I want to make this KPI or, hit this milestone, what do I need to do 2 years in now? How does someone start from the point of just writing it down to the point of implementation?
Yeah. So I learned like the hard way, basically. There's different types of businesses, and some businesses have scale built in and others not as much. And that's not to say you can't succeed. So, my first foray into entrepreneurship was this e-commerce business, and we grew, we did nicely, but at the end of the day, the sales margins are 50%. Then you have returns, then you have your marketing costs, then you've got, staff and fulfillment and all this stuff. And when all is said and done, you might make $1 million a year, but you're left with, and then you have to buy all your inventory. You're left with not all that much. So I think, for anybody who hasn't started a business yet, really think about what you're starting, because there are easier businesses and there are harder ones. I think software. So SaaS businesses, very low overhead. So GrowthBar, low overhead, profitable. It's just like a more efficient machine. And from, the agency world, from your agencies are also super efficient in terms of revenue growth, but do take headcount. SaaS is a little slower to grow for sure, but takes fewer heads. In my opinion, agencies and SaaS is where I would start a business. One agency is pretty, I'm not going to say easy, because we both know none of this is easy, but easy-ish to get customers, and customers spend a lot and they come back month and month again. SaaS, they spend less, but they do come back month and month again and again. It's just that more profitable sort of business model naturally, just less overhead. So I would say before you even begin, think about what type of business you want to start next. I would think about a business that really will make you happy and keep you energized, because it's a grind. Every single day you're waking up and you're worried about cash flow, you're worried about your employees, you're worried about, are people churning from my product, or is in your case, is a customer of my agency unhappy? And these things happen. And anyone who tells you they don't isn't, is either, a multi-billionaire and doesn't have to worry about it, or their business isn't doing that well and they don't have these problems of scale. So I would say find something that you like to do. And then finally, one of my theses about business in general is lifetime value. At the end of the day, it costs $100 to get a customer in the door. Well, make sure you get $200 back, and even better if you can get $1,000 back from them, and even better if you can get $40,000 back. And that's why agencies are incredible businesses, in my opinion, because, getting a customer in the door might be as simple as working your network or sending a LinkedIn message, and then maybe that customer is paying you $5,000 a month for 12 months, and you've got $60K in the bank. Again, e-commerce businesses and some other small ticket items, just a little more difficult to make it scale. You can scale to a $1 million business with 1,000 customers, or you can do it with 50,000 or 100,000 customers, and the former is just way easier. So lifetime value is the other thing. I would look to start a business that has a high value of customer.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that insight. There's so much with AI going on too. And people wonder, okay, if this AI tool can write for me, they're going to be like, what makes it so different from Jasper? What makes it so different from Copy AI, from GPT now? I'm just asking questions that I know people will be asking technically because I'm on Clubhouse a lot.
Totally.
So what would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in a really crowded space. I have an advisor that I gave equity in GrowthBar, and he was able to sell a pretty substantial webinar company, and he sold it a couple years ago during the height of the pandemic. So he did well, and he told me from day one, he said, Mark, Jasper looks like a really pretty story on the surface. They're raising all this money. But beneath the covers, like, they need to differentiate, because people are going to go to ChatGPT, and Jasper's expensive, Copy AI is expensive, and they need to differentiate, and you guys need to continue differentiating. So we've really carved this niche in SEO content. So if you want to write something for SEO, like a blog post or a web page, using AI, we really think GrowthBar is the tool for you. And I mean, you've been using it now. I happen to think it's a really great tool, and definitely one of the leaders, if not the leader, in AI writing for SEO. So I think it's all about niching down, and I definitely, for any listener out there, like, if you're in a competitive space, it's really like attractive to us as humans, because we're like, oh, well, we should do that, or this competitor's doing this, maybe we should do this too, or this client is asking for this, maybe we should do this too. And you run the risk of just spreading really thin, and one, that makes you lose focus, and not do any of those things well. And then two, it prevents you from building a brand around anything. You're a jack of all trades and a master of none. It's way easier to say we are the AI tool for SEO than we are the AI tool for everything. It's just a tougher story to tell, and it's more difficult for people to wrap their head around. It's more difficult for you to differentiate and actually close clients. So it's like, it's counterintuitive sometimes, but you actually do need to differentiate and niche down wherever possible.
That's beautiful. I think the AI tool for SEO is the key, because when people think about SEO, it's already daunting. I hear people cringe in cricket mode, when they can't understand it. So someone that gets in that door says, okay, I'm going to invest in my own business. I don't have a team. I just want to write good content for my website. What can that person do that has a I don't want to say a limited budget, because it can always be flexible, but a restraining budget?
Totally. And, I'll admit too, when we started GrowthBar 2.5 years ago, AI was barely out of the gate. Like, OpenAI wasn't big yet. We actually started GrowthBar as purely an SEO tool. So if you were to use like Wayback Machine or something and go back and look at our website 2 years ago, it was truly an SEO tool, because we were, like you said, SEO is really daunting. Like SEMrush and Ahrefs and some of these big tools that I know they're complicated. They have all these metrics in there, and you're like, where do I even begin? So Haley and I actually said originally, we were like, you know what, let's just make a simpler SEMrush, something that people can really wrap their heads around, something that bloggers and content creators can use without having to learn, 500 different terms and 500 different concepts to write an article that's going to rank. Because guess what? It's not that difficult. When all is said and done, it's, anybody can do it. It takes a little bit of ramp up time, but it shouldn't be as complicated as SEMrush and Ahrefs make it. So you're right, and like part of what we've done, and one of our core values at GrowthBar, is strip it down. So wherever possible, make it simpler, because none of the other tools make it simple.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for that. Now I'm even thinking, like, as far as competition and writing and using the platform, how does that play in terms of timing? Because people spend 3 hours, 4 hours writing content, but now because of AI, it's been like cut low. And somebody may say, oh, okay, this is AI, just rephrase, copy, paste, edit, no work done, just automatic blocking. So does someone still consider growth in that way for their business with that online traffic, or do they still have to put in those manual edits?
Yeah, awesome question. people still have to manually edit. This isn't going to take, and I think it's a long time, and maybe, 10 plus years out before, an AI is going to be able to write an article as perfectly as a human, meet all of a Googler's search intent, if we're talking about SEO, meet all the search intent, make sure that everything is factually accurate, because we know that AI has sort of a facts problem and will, hallucinate, quote unquote, like spit out facts that aren't real all the time. So we still think human in the loop is a big part of this. I like to say that like humans are sort of, SEOs are becoming more curators than they are creators from scratch, because like AI is going to spit out a lot of paragraphs and a lot of words, and you kind of need you need to figure out what actually belongs in this article to keep the reader engaged and to make, like, frankly, like a coherent article that's actually going to rank. So human in the loop, definitely for now. Where things go in 5-10 years, I have no clue. This is all happening, as we know, so fast. It's like every day there's a new headline about something involving AI. But for now, human in the loop, definitely. But like our goal is to condense that writing time from like 5 hours an article down to like, 30 minutes an article, which I think we've done pretty effectively, but still human in the loop.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Speaking of importance as well, I'm seeing there's a section when you make the edits, you click on the green check mark and it will tell the importance score. What is that factored by? Because I see a 9 and a 5, and if someone made like 5, I don't really care. A 9, I want all of them. So how does someone balance it so that it's not like all 9s or all 5s?
Yeah. So in the tool, just to paint the picture for the audience, there is this concept of LSI keywords, latent semantic indexing keywords, which for listeners is a really complicated way of saying what keywords should you include in your article in order to rank, because Google still needs cues to understand what your article is about. So, if you're writing an article about, I don't know, I'm going to make this up, like, webinar tools, and you've got the word Zoom in there, Google knows that article is like fairly on point and what somebody who's searching is actually looking for. It's just additional keywords that clue Google into the fact that like, yes, this article is what I think it is, and audience, readers are gonna find value in this article. So GrowthBar surfaces those LSI keywords, and like Favor's saying, they get like green, little check marks when you use them, so that you can keep track of, hey, did I use this keyword or did I not? Importance for that. So actually, underneath the hood, a lot of how GrowthBar works is through web scrapers. So we have, hundreds of web scrapers that are going around, and anytime you create a new article, GrowthBar is then going into the Google search engine results page, scraping all the information from the articles and pages in the Google search engine results page, and then actually matching those. So it's telling us, how many webinar software posts say the word Zoom in it. And that one's probably going to be pretty frequent. Like if you're talking about webinars and you don't mention the word Zoom, like, I don't know, it's probably not going to rank on page 1. So Zoom then would get like a 9 out of 10, an importance score. But something like a smaller webinar tool like Webinar Jam, that might only have a 5 or a 6 in importance score. And I'm oversimplifying it, but you sort of get the gist here. It's like, we call it correlative SEO. So it's like, if these couple of articles rank in the Google search engine results page, then, likely your article will need to include X, Y, and Z. Something that we do that I think is really unique and pretty interesting for almost all of our metrics is, so if you've got, best webinar software, we'll just keep going down this road with this example, but zoom.com is going to rank probably pretty high for best webinar software. But your little blog, my little blog, whatever, compared to Zoom, probably like needs to do a lot better. Like if Zoom's content is a B, you need an A+ in order to rank above Zoom. What's more interesting is the other small blogs and smaller sites that are ranking on page 1. And actually, GrowthBar's Web Scrapers is looking particularly at the less authoritative articles on page 1, because those are actually probably a better clue as to what needs to happen for your article to rank. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What Zoom does or what HubSpot does, or what the New York Times does, like they could write anything. They could write a paragraph of like drivel and it'll probably rank on page 1. But what joeschmoblog.com does, if they're ranking on page 1, they're definitely doing something right. So GrowthBar we're pretty prescriptive about what types of authoritative articles it's looking at to find those LSI keywords and make a bunch of other recommendations.
Amazing. Thank you. I was looking at it earlier today with the team, and I noticed like it said for the optimization score, there's like a green bar you'll see when you sign up, and it says when you hit for 75% and above, your chances of ranking are higher. Now, that's a metric. And I also see, within the section that says, hey, you should use 4 sentences per paragraph, because that goes into your score. I think it's a German grading kind of thing.
It's the readability. We have a couple readability metrics in there,
which is really nice. So if someone looks at those scores and they're like, okay, I love my article, it's a D. It doesn't look so great, but they'll be like, oh, whatever. I'm sure everybody else has got an F. So how does someone aim for that B or A+ and make sure that they look at that article maybe a month or 2 later? I don't know what the metric would be for them to see that article getting clicks and also getting those conversions.
Yeah, great question. I think, one, I would say this is where human in the loop is definitely necessary, and it also, something that we're considering doing is adding some sort of logic for the type of article, because like, for example, if you're writing about some super complicated topic, like some legal topic or maybe some medical topic that is requires using huge words and things, long sentences that you and I probably don't even understand, you'll probably need those guidelines should probably be relaxed a little bit, because you couldn't do a good job writing about X topic unless you were super sophisticated and being pretty verbose and whatever else. But for 90% of topics, you want to write in plain English. You want to write in concise sentences that are super digestible for readers, especially because so many people are on their phones reading this stuff nowadays. So I would say there's a little bit of judgment that goes into it. If you're reading the thing and it's beautiful and well written for whatever the topic, great, you're probably fine. But if if you have a D and you're reading it and you're like, yeah, this isn't so good, I would pay attention to some of the optimizations it's recommending to make your article better. So again, I hope that answers just a little bit of human in the loop there.
Thank you for that. That definitely helps as well. I got to start looking at, because I already have an idea, a mental picture of how GrowthBar looks, because I've been so gazed on it for some days now, so I know kind of where things are. And I was looking at it visually, and I was like, there's a section that says value of position 1, because there's an article for me in context that ranks on page 1 on the SERP, which I used the other platform for, and it was based on how to play music on Clubhouse, so how to use Clubhouse without an iRig, and I automatically ranked there, and it's been growing in thousands of impressions and clicks. So I now went to edit the article, and I noticed there are a lot of gaps. I can definitely, because that was 2021 article, and it's ranking now. So I went back in there and I saw the monthly searches is about 12,100 monthly searches, and I saw the value position of position 1 is about 6.6K. So I was like, does that mean, as I was just doing my SEO map findings, and I was like, does that really mean that it would take someone $6,600 pretty much, give or take, to spend on Google Ads to get that position that I have organically, or is this something else that I'm not catching on?
You got it. Basically, it's exactly what you said.
Okay.
Clearly, as a user, we should do a better job explaining what that metric is, because it is a little difficult to understand. But basically, you've got it. What it means, where it's derived from, is, in this example, I forget what you said, 1,000 impressions or 1,000
like 12
searches.
12,100. Yeah.
So 12,000 searches a month. If you rank in position 1 for that, you can be guaranteed to have something like, we have a sliding scale, something like 35 or 40% of clicks go to the result in position 1. So that'll give you, I don't know, let's just say it's 40%. So 40% of 12,000 is what, 5,000, something like that? I don't know. I shouldn't try to do math live.
Let me do it now.
But if you take that number, close to 5,000?
Yeah, 4,800. You got it.
All right, good enough. So if you take that number, then multiply by the cost per click that people are willing to pay for that, then yeah, you get to that value position 1 number. It's not perfect. Definitely I've ranked for keywords in position 1, and I'm making $200 a month through affiliate sales or something, and it's telling me the value of position 1 is $3,000. So I'm like, it's not always going to be perfect, but maybe that's a place that I could optimize that article, add more affiliate links, or whatever. So not perfect, but definitely like a pretty good proxy for how valuable a keyword is.
That's really important. Thank you for that as well. And I also saw the meta generator, the rank tracker, and I tried that with a client as well, and I was like, this is actually cool. Yes, you see Google Search Console, but it breaks down your top 100 keywords like they do for Google Business Profile. So I found that really cool. And then of course, if you have like SEMrush, you could go and get the all the other good stuff. But I think using GrowthBar to create an intention for growth for your site is huge. And one thing that I love about the platform is how simple it is, and it makes more sense, because my team was telling me today, and I was like, this is full disclosure for the audience, is that they were like, phrase was so interesting, just to give them like an understanding, that they would have to go outside, make their copy, and then come into the platform to make their edit. And I was like, this should not be happening. You guys should be doing everything from in there. And it made sense to me, because they were like, I kind of get the understanding of the platform, but it doesn't give me what I'm looking for. So I'd rather come back and make the edits in 2 hours than stress myself for 5 hours. But when I asked them about GrowthBar, they said, hey, I got in there, I'm still getting used to it. But one of them was like, don't leave this platform. so I was like, yeah, I think we found a winner, and I wanted to make sure I could let you know this today.
Oh, Favor, that is music to my ears. I think that's like another tip for somebody starting a business. It's like, it wasn't always like that. We have had a lot of conversations with customers, a lot of trial and error to figure out what makes somebody adopt the platform or not adopt the platform. So I think if you're starting a business, or even if you're underway in a business, like, speaking to users is something that's always, the most important. Like, when people go to cancel GrowthBar, we actually give them, there's a pop-up, and you can't cancel until you give us a reason why you canceled. Maybe a little intrusive, but we're like, we might as well, while somebody's leaving the door, we might as well just get a sentence or two from them on like what wasn't helpful. Like, was the platform not intuitive enough, or were the AI writing results not what you wanted to see, or something like that. And for a long time, the most popular exit reason was simply, I couldn't figure out how to do what I wanted to do. Like, it's complicated. So we spent a lot of time like figuring out how to make this thing way less complicated and make it as simple as possible, because again, like, we wanted to create a simpler SEO content experience. So it took us a long time to get there. So talk to customers is definitely one of the biggest takeaways.
Amazing. Thank you so much. If there's one thing you want to let people know as we wrap up this episode, what would you let them know about GrowthBar, investing in GrowthBar, and using GrowthBar to actually get those leads and those revenue goals they're looking for in their business?
I would say, as you well know, SEO is a long game. It's going to take, 3+ months to, if you're starting from scratch, you need a couple of months and you need a lot of content out the door right away to hope to rank. So it's not one of the SEO isn't one of those things like Google ads or Facebook ads, which, by the way, have all gotten so expensive. It's nearly impossible to make them work from a return on ad spend perspective. But spend the time and like actually pump out a bunch of content, and it can't be just like okay content. It has to be incredible content. So when I was starting my blog, again, part of the impetus for creating GrowthBar, like I truly just wrote off my Saturdays for probably almost a full year there, and I just wrote all day Saturday, and it was kind of fun. Like I actually like writing, so it wasn't like wasn't the worst thing in the world. Like it was kind of fun to do. But point being, like you have to get a lot of good content out the door, and GrowthBar is going to make it so that maybe I only needed to spend 2 hours of every Saturday doing it, but like it's still going to take time. So stick with it. SEO isn't an overnight thing.
Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it. I'm sure people want to connect with you, find where they can get started. What are the options they have available?
Yeah, anybody can email me, mark@growthbarseo.com. That's probably where it's easiest for me I see all those emails, LinkedIn, Twitter, like who knows. So I would say if anybody has any questions, email me. And thank you, Favor. I really had fun. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Go GrowthBar. I'm excited. Appreciate
Thank you.
Anytime.